Okay, let's get across the rest of the news of the day. And political reporter Cam Reddin joins me from Canberra. Cam, I just alluded to the fact that there might be some news about these Taipan helicopters. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, look, we'd have a bit of an idea of the timeline here, Erin. And look, your comments there really hit home. I mean, I'm the son of an Air Force pilot, and how many Australians have linked to the Defence Force in one way or another? So you're right to make the point about the emotional scarring that happens in these sorts of incidents. I think it was Andrew Hastie that said this week too that, you know, the training essentially has to be warlike, and you have to put your life on the line in training, or else how do you put your life on the line in a real scenario? But we do have a bit of a feeling for how this recovery effort is going. We know that there's still attempts to recover the bodies in and around the Whitsundays. We also know that there are multiple investigations ongoing into this Taipan crash. And the problem is that those new investigations, those angles of inquiry to try and figure out exactly what happens here from now won't really ramp up until the recovery effort is complete. Just to give your viewers an idea of what actually happens from here, it's a bit like reverse engineering. They try and recover as much of the aircraft as they can from the bottom of the ocean. We know there are parts of the cabin that have been found this week, and then essentially put it back together in a hangar and then try and reverse engineer the problem to figure out whether it's an existing issue, what's happened, and whether there's a known fix to it. So in simple terms, Erin, this is a process that will take weeks and months, not days or hours. And as we know, Richard Marles, the Defence Minister, has made the point this week that there is an obvious capability gap there when you take an entire fleet of these helicopters out of the air. We do know, though, that in the past few days, we've got the first of these Black Hawk choppers. The first two arrived on Sunday. They're on Australian soil. They're not in the air yet, but it's still the best part of more than 12 months until they're fully phased out the Taipan. So there is still a long way to go here.
I saw Peter Dutton talking about those Black Hawks on Morning TV this morning, and I think Richard Marles, the Defence Minister, said this morning as well that the choppers were all definitely certified, but obviously there can be plenty more issues behind the scenes, so we'll watch with interest. It's just heartbreaking, and of course we're thinking of all the families as well. Now, China has agreed to scrap tariffs on barley. What does that mean for our relationship with Beijing, Cam? Is it softening a little bit, do you think?
Yeah, well, it's another step of progress over the last 12 months or so, Erin. Just to put this into context, barley the big one today, but we now have 90% of the trade sanctions that had been imposed on Australia by China have now been removed. From a total of $20 billion, you think of some of those that have been removed over the past 12 months, like coal and cotton and citrus and stone fruit, and now today with the announcement re barley. From $20 billion of sanctions, just $2 billion now remain. The next big one, the next feather in the cap, if you like, that the government wants to get removed is wine. But Penny Wong, the Foreign Minister, as well as the Trade Minister Don Farrell, certainly welcoming this news today.
This is the right outcome. The right outcome for Australian producers and the right outcome for Chinese consumers. It affirms the approach, the calm and consistent approach that the Albanese government has taken.
So you see on your screen there, two of the three government ministers that have visited Beijing over the past 12 months, Penny Wong and Don Farrell, the other being Tim Ayres. The Prime Minister has been invited, Erin. This is another step towards potentially accepting that later in the year, but he wants to see more progress, particularly on those two Australians that are detained in China before he goes.
Absolutely, that's crucial. But look, as a fan of wine, I'm happy to not have our stocks depleted at this stage. Not that I'm planning on drinking our entire supply, but look, for
how much do you want to volunteer?
Yeah, not a whole hell of a lot, Cam, let me assure you.